I was looking at my home page today and I came across this video. Just lately I've come across quite a few videos with people explaining what's really in our food chain. So Oreo biscuits and probably all Oreo products have got emulsifiers and all these things in them to glue everything together. It's not really cream, it's not chocolate. In fact, when you burn it, it glows. If it was real, this wouldn't happen. It's chemicals. Then you've got tea. Most tea bags are glued together with some kind of plastic glue, which goes into your body, can be found in your brain, in your testicles, the ovaries. Oh my God. And then Listerine. Oh my God. Listerine was a disinfectant in hospitals. It then became a floor cleaner, and then they turned it into mouthwash. You definitely don't want to be using that. And then I come across this video. 8 UK brands you must avoid, which really seems to be just all of them. Let's watch a bit of this video and I'm going to make some comments.
Your bread is poisoning you, and the company's making it know exactly what they're doing. That loaf you bought yesterday, it contains ingredients banned in multiple countries, things that have been linked to cancer, diabetes and behavioural problems in children. But here in the UK, they're perfectly legal. In the next 20 minutes, I'm going to expose exactly which 8 bread brands you need to avoid and why. I'll show you what's really in them, what it's doing to your body, and most importantly, what you should be buying.
A lot of people think or believe the government, the govern the mind, the government, are looking after you with all these regulationary, I can't even say the word, regulationary bodies, supposedly saying, oh no, you can't put those terrible things in there because that's bad for them. It's just not true. It just seems everything that they're dealing with, the water, the air, the food, is just all plastic and chemicals. It's like we're in a boot camp, like a prison boot camp. And it's like we're a big sort of concentration camp sort of thing. And they're testing everything out on you to see how long you survive. Whether it's through frequency, whether it's through water, air, or what you're eating. It's quite incredible. I thought about one of the things in here that he's talking about. My daughter-in-law struggles with eating bread, so she eats bread without, I can't remember what it is, but she eats, you've got big aisles of that bread without whatever it is in it. She eats that because her stomach, it just makes her have stomach aches. He talks about that in here. Anyway, let's carry on with the video.
By the end of this, you'll never grab the same loaf again. Number 8. Warburton's. I know, I can already hear some of you saying, but Warburton's is everywhere. It's a British classic. And you're right, it is everywhere. That's exactly why we need to talk about it. Look at a standard Warburton's white loaf. Open up the ingredients list. You'll find something called E4722E. Sounds harmless enough, right? Just a number. But E4722E is actually mono and diacetyl tartaric acid esters of mono and diglycerides. Try saying that 3 times fast.
I went and looked it up as he was talking about it. There you go. And there it explains what he has just said. It's in bread, donuts, pastries, dairy products and other products, coffee, whiteness, salad dressing and frozen pizza, whipped toppings, cheese, ice cream, improves dough, machinery ability and tolerance, crusty bread, rye bread, biscuits and cakes. Wow. So that's what he's talking about. This is what they're doing. It's generally recognised as safe. It is generally considered vegan as it usually derived from plants, but sometimes it may contain animal sources. Wow. Anyway, let's carry on with the video.
This is an emulsifier, and while it's technically approved for use, research has shown that emulsifiers can disrupt your gut bacteria. Your gut contains trillions of microorganisms that regulate everything from your immune system to your mental health. When you mess with that balance, you're not just affecting digestion, you're affecting your entire body. Many Warburton's loaves also contain something called a flour treatment agent. This includes L-cysteine, which can be derived from duck feathers or even human hair. Yes, you read that right. The bread you're feeding your children might contain processed hair protein. And here's something most people don't realize. Warburton's uses what's called the Chorleywood bread process. This is an industrial method invented in the 1960s that allows bread to be made in under 3 hours instead of the traditional 12 to 16 hours. How do they do it? By adding extra yeast, chemical improvers, and using high-speed mixers that beat air into the dough violently. This process destroys the natural structure of wheat proteins. Your digestive system has to work harder to break down bread made this way. That bloated feeling after eating a sandwich. That's not normal. That's your body struggling with chemically accelerated bread. The Chorleywood process also means the bread never develops the complex flavors and nutrients that come from slow fermentation. Instead, manufacturers add extra sugar, fat, and salt to make up for the lack of real flavor. You're essentially eating industrial foam held together with chemicals. Number 7. Hovis. Hovis has built its entire brand on nostalgia. That classic TV advert with the boy pushing his bike up the hill. British heritage. Wholesome.
All they have done is put chemicals in our food. And don't forget, a lot of it is GMO as well. Wow, this is just... You think every now and again it might be one or something else, but it's actually everything. How can we allow these governments to say that they're looking after us? They're not looking after us at all. It's all about making money, and they probably own half of what's charging us the money. We've got 47 taxes. It's like a constant program of dumb you down any way you look at it, with the air, with the water, with the food. This is disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful.
Some goodness. Except when you actually examine what's in the bag, the story gets a lot less wholesome. Take their standard white loaf. It contains something called caramel coloring. You might think, caramel? That's just sugar, right? Wrong. The caramel coloring used in processed foods is created through a chemical process that produces compounds called 4-methylimidazole. Studies have linked this compound to potential cancer risks. In animals, is the amount in one slice of bread going to harm you? Probably not. But you're not eating just one slice. You're eating it multiple times a day, every day, for years. That accumulation matters. Hovis also uses palm oil in several of their products. The palm oil used in cheap bread is often highly processed, stripped of any nutritional benefits, and used purely as a cheap fat substitute. Here's what really bothers me about Hovis. They market themselves as the healthy, traditional choice. They slap wholemeal on the label and add some seeds to the crust. But when you flip that bag over and read the ingredients, you realize you've been sold a story, not actual nutrition. Their soft white range reads like a chemistry experiment. Wheat flour, water, yeast, that's fine. But then it continues. Vegetable oils, salt, emulsifiers, flour treatment agent, preservative, and something called soya flour. Why is soya flour in bread? Because it's cheaper than wheat flour and it helps the dough rise faster. But soya is one of the most genetically modified crops in the world. Unless it specifically says organic soya, you're almost certainly eating GMO ingredients. Hovis also has a dirty little secret about their wholemeal bread. They mill the wheat, strip away the bran and germ to make white flour, then add some of it back later to create wholemeal. Real wholemeal bread should be made from flour that was never separated in the first place. By splitting and recombining, they destroy much of the nutritional value and natural structure. Number 6. Kingsmill. Kingsmill loves to talk about their Great White range. Great for who, exactly? Because it's certainly not great for your blood sugar. Their white bread has a glycemic index of around 75. That's higher than pure sugar. When you eat high GI foods, your blood sugar spikes rapidly. rapidly.
My boyfriend has quite a lot of stomach problems at times. It's not there all the time, but it's called what they say he's got is acid reflux. But if he's eating bread like this is probably why he's got stomach problems. He likes bread and butter. He's got a sensitive stomach and he can't eat these breads. And he's eating one of them. He likes going to Sainsbury's, so it's obviously from Sainsbury's mostly. He needs to cut down his bread. He can have rye bread. Maybe it's not in there. But also I have friends that are diabetic at the moment because things have happened in his life. You know, every day he's doing his blood test. His blood tests have not been right. And they were thinking of putting him on insulin. If he's eating these breads, this could be spiking his blood tests. This is what they're saying that they do. Spike the blood tests. Oh, this is just disgusting. It really is. That they're helping to keep people ill. Anyway, how can they be allowed to put all this, like, you know, we've had all those stories about the Chinese eating plastic rice. Well, they're giving us plastic bread.
Your pancreas panics and releases a flood of insulin. Then your blood sugar crashes, leaving you tired, hungry, and craving more carbs. It's a vicious cycle that can lead to insulin resistance, weight gain, and eventually type 2 diabetes. But here's the really sneaky part. Kingsmill's 50-50 bread, marketed as a healthier option because it blends white and wholemeal flour, still contains high fructose glucose syrup. This sweetener is linked to fatty liver disease, obesity, and metabolic syndrome. Why would bread need high fructose glucose syrup? Because it makes it taste slightly sweet, which increases the likelihood you'll buy it again. It triggers the same reward centers in your brain that addictive substances do. You're not imagining that you crave that specific bread. You've been conditioned to want it. And don't even get me started on their tasty wholemeal range. The second ingredient after wholemeal flour, sugar. They've taken something that should be nutritious and turned it into a vehicle for hidden sugar consumption. If you're buying bread that lists sugar in the top 3 ingredients, you're not buying bread, you're buying cake disguised as a sandwich base. Let me break down what happens when you eat Kingsmill bread for breakfast. You have toast at 7 in the morning. By 8:30, your blood sugar has spiked and crashed. You're tired, unfocused, reaching for another coffee or a biscuit. By 10:30, you're starving again, even though you ate just 3 hours ago. This isn't hunger, this is blood sugar chaos, and it's completely engineered by the ingredients in that bread. Kingsmill also uses something called rapeseed oil in many of their loaves. Rapeseed oil, also sold as canola oil, is highly processed and often partially hydrogenated. This creates trans fats, which are among the worst things you can put in your body. Trans fats raise bad cholesterol, lower good cholesterol, and significantly increase your risk of heart disease. The UK banned artificial trans fats in 2018, but naturally occurring trans fats from processing oils are still allowed. Kingsmill's rapeseed oil falls into this category. They're technically complying with regulations while still selling you something harmful. And here's the kicker. Kingsmill is owned by Associated British Foods, the same company that owns Primark. They know how to maximize profit margins. They know how to use the cheapest possible ingredients and market them as quality. Your health isn't their concern. Your repeat purchases are. Number 5. Sainsbury's own brand. Supermarket-owned brands are tricky because people assume they're basically the same as branded versions, just cheaper. Sometimes that's true.
Wow, I just thought about things. My lovely Mickey. He loved sandwiches. What was in that bread? He had had a triple heart bypass, probably none of that. And he liked Coke. None of those things were good for him. I'm not saying I don't or haven't had them, but someone like Mickey was already vulnerable. And then, like I said, we've got my daughter-in-law. I remembered what it was, and now it's gone out of my brain now because it is quite late when I'm making this video. Gluten. Yeah. Is it a gluten intolerance? Yeah, that one. And then my Jimbo, stomach problems, eats lots of white bread. And then we've got my friend's husband, who I told you is struggling a bit with all his tests at the moment, but something big has happened in his life, and they're saying that maybe it's that, so he's stressed. But he probably eats loads of these breads. Oh dear, it's just awful, isn't it? Well, it's almost like you can't eat anything. I'm starting to look at all the labels and thinking, oh, it's got all those numbers in it. And hopefully I'm picking stuff that's got less numbers in it. Because all that is to make sure you go to hospital and have some treatments.
But with Sainsbury's bread, cheaper means cutting corners in ways that should concern you. Their economy white bread contains something called calcium propionate. This is a preservative that extends shelf life by preventing mold growth. Sounds useful, right? Here's the problem. Studies have linked calcium propionate to behavioral issues in children, including irritability, sleep problems, and difficulty concentrating. One study published in the Journal of Pediatrics and Child Health found that when children with ADHD symptoms were given bread with calcium propionate, their behavior worsened significantly. When the preservative was removed from their diet, symptoms improved. Sainsbury's budget loaves use it in higher concentrations to maximize shelf life, because these loaves sit in warehouses and on shelves longer than premium brands. There's also the issue of flour quality. Sainsbury's economy bread uses the cheapest possible flour, often bleached and stripped of any nutritional value. They then add back synthetic vitamins to meet legal fortification requirements. But your body doesn't absorb synthetic vitamins the same way it absorbs nutrients from whole foods. You're essentially eating nutritionally dead bread that's been given a vitamin injection so it can legally be called fortified. Let me tell you about what bleaching flour actually means.
When you hear this video, doesn't it sound quite simple when he's explaining that this does not help people with ADHD, whatever's in the bread? Adults are also labelled as ADHD. It's not because they are, it's something in the bread that's aggravating that something in them to make them be called ADHD. Come on, this is just cruelty to its max. Demoralise the people, tax them to high heaven, lie to them all the time, make Dallas Dynasty and drama all over the television with people who don't even exist. Oh, come on.
Flour naturally ages and whitens over time through oxidation, but that takes months, and time is money. So manufacturers use chemical bleaching agents like chlorine dioxide, benzoyl peroxide, or potassium bromate to whiten flour in hours instead of months. These chemicals don't just whiten, they alter the molecular structure of the flour. Chlorine dioxide, for example, reacts with proteins in flour to create alloxan, a compound used in laboratory settings to induce diabetes in test animals. Yes, you read that correctly. A compound that causes diabetes in lab rats is created when flour is bleached with chlorine. Sainsbury's also uses monoglycerides and diglycerides as emulsifiers. These are created by breaking down fats, often from animal sources, though they don't specify which animals on the label. If you're vegetarian, vegan, or avoid pork for religious reasons, you might be unknowingly consuming ingredients that violate your beliefs or ethics. If you're finding this information valuable, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. I'm exposing the truth about everyday products that most people buy without thinking twice. And trust me, what's coming next is even more shocking. Number 4. Asda Smart Price. If you've ever wondered how a loaf of bread can cost 50 pence, this is your answer. Asda Smart Price bread is engineered for one thing: maximum profit through minimum ingredient cost. The flour used in these loaves is the lowest grade possible. We're talking about flour that's been so heavily processed and chemically treated that it barely resembles the wheat it came from. It's been bleached with chlorine gas or benzoyl peroxide to make it white. But the real villain in Asda Smart Price bread is something called azodicarbonamide. This chemical is used as a flour improver to make dough more elastic and easier to work with industrially. Here's the disturbing part. Azodicarbonamide is also used to make yoga mats and shoe soles. When azodicarbonamide breaks down during baking, it forms semicarbazide and ethyl carbamate. Both of these compounds are considered possible carcinogens. The European Food Safety Authority has expressed concerns about these breakdown products, yet the additive Asda will point out that the amounts used are tiny and within legal limits, and that's true. But why take the risk at all? Why eat bread that contains a chemical also found in your gym equipment? Let me paint you a picture.
When you think about the plastic ingredients, the chemical ingredients, and what they've done to flour by putting all those chemicals in the flour just to make it cheap enough for us to eat, surely to God, the original ingredients will be cheaper than all the plastic chemicals that they're adding and spend, the whiter it is, the more bleached it is. Oh my God, this is insanity. I didn't realise it was quite as bad as this, to be honest. I'm really sorry that we are eating this kind of food.
Of how Asda Smart Price bread is made. It starts with the lowest grade wheat. Often reject wheat that didn't meet quality standards for other products. This wheat is ground into flour using industrial steel rollers that generate heat, which destroys any remaining nutrients. The flour is then bleached, aged with chemicals, and treated with improvers to make it workable. Water is added, along with the cheapest yeast available. Then comes the sugar, not for taste, but because yeast needs sugar to work faster. Salt is added in amounts that exceed what's necessary for flavour. Why? Salt masks the lack of real taste and makes you thirsty, which means you're more likely to buy a drink with your sandwich. Asda Smart Price white bread contains less than 1 gram of fibre per slice. Your digestive system needs fibre to function properly. Without it, food moves slowly through your intestines, toxins aren't eliminated efficiently, and you end up constipated, bloated, and uncomfortable. Number 3. Tesco Value. Tesco Value bread follows the same playbook as Asda, but they've added their own twist. Many of their budget loaves contain something called modified wheat starch. Modified starch is created by chemically or physically altering regular starch to change its properties. This process can involve treating starch with acids, enzymes, or even radiation. The end product behaves differently in food, helping create a softer texture that lasts longer. The problem? Modified starches can cause digestive issues in sensitive individuals. They're harder for your body to break down, which can lead to bloating, gas, and
I just feel a little bit differently here about salt. I've had my gallbladder removed, which means my body doesn't say stop eating the salt. Not that I overdo the salt maybe, but I do like salt, and they've totally lied to us about salt. You don't want bleached salt, you really want salt that looks probably, well, like that in that man's hand, these kind of salt, Himalayan salt. Salt is really good for you. Not that one. But salt is very good for you. It's very good for your body. We're electric, remember? This helps with our electric body. We need salt. We need it for the organs in our body. So when they say don't take a lot of salt, no, you don't want the chemical salt or the bleach salt. You don't want any of that, which is probably what they put in this food, is chemical salt or bleach salt, because they're bleaching everything else and bleaching everything and bleach. The salt will be bleached, won't it? You're not going to put nice salt in there if they're bleaching everything, but how, if you've got to bleach it, that's another, what do you call it? Something else the salt has to go through. So surely it becomes more expensive to bleach it than to have natural salt. How can it be cheap to have bleach salt when you've got to spend money to bleach it? Do you get all this? This is just bananas. Oh, dearie me. And again, where are all these regulatory bodies looking after us? They are not doing it.
Regular bowel movements. A standard slice contains less than 1 gram of fibre. Your body needs around 30 grams of fibre per day for optimal digestive health. If you're eating bread that provides almost none, you're missing a crucial opportunity for nutrition. Tesco also uses something called vegetable oil in their budget ranges. Sounds innocent enough, right? Except that vegetable oil is a vague term that can include heavily refined rapeseed oil, palm oil, or soybean oil. These oils are highly processed, often rancid before they even reach the bread-making facility, and contain high levels of omega-6 fatty acids that promote inflammation when consumed in excess. Let me explain what chronic inflammation does to your body. It's not the acute inflammation you get from a cut or infection. Chronic inflammation is low-level, constant inflammation that silently damages your cells, tissues, and organs over years. It contributes to arthritis, heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, and even cancer. And one of the biggest dietary contributors to chronic inflammation is excessive omega-6 fatty acids from refined vegetable oils. What frustrates me most about Tesco is its market position. They're the largest supermarket chain in the UK. They have the resources to source better ingredients to make real bread at affordable prices. But instead, they choose to maximize profit margins by selling the cheapest possible product. Number 2. Lidl Baker's Life. Now we're getting into serious territory. Lidl has exploded in popularity across the UK, and its in-house bakery section seems fresh and appealing. The smell of baking bread fills the store. It feels artisanal. It feels real. It's not. Lidl's Baker's Life range uses a technique called part baking. The bread is made in factories abroad, particularly in Germany and Poland, then partially baked, frozen, and shipped to UK stores where it's finished in in-store ovens. This is why it smells so good. You're smelling the final bake, not the actual bread making.
This is what it's about. It's about money. The only thing it has to do with is money. They don't give a damn about you. They don't give a damn about any of us. Giving us all those emulsifiers and all the wrong oils and things that make us ill. They're putting it in our food system and we're buying it because we believe that they're making good food for us. It's just... I mean, I wonder if any of them taste this stuff. Sometimes I call them slop in a pot, those meals. Sometimes they're okay, but a lot of the time in some of the big shops, there's slop in a pot and you paid like £3-4 for this slop. Oh, I'm just quite disgusted, to be honest, that it's really this bad. Anyway, let's move on with the video.
Process. Why does this matter? Because part-baked bread requires additional preservatives to survive the freezing and transport process. These preservatives aren't always listed clearly on the packaging because they're considered processing aids rather than ingredients. But here's the real issue with Lidl's bread: quality control. In 2018, Lidl had to recall several batches of bread due to contamination with plastic pieces. In 2020, there were reports of metal fragments found in loaves. These aren't isolated incidents. Lidl's Baker's Life white bread also contains dextrose, which is just another form of sugar. Combined with the refined flour, you're getting a 1-2 punch of blood sugar disruption. The most frustrating part? Lidl markets this bread as freshly baked in-store, when it's really just finished in-store. It's misleading marketing at its finest. When bread is frozen, ice crystals form within the dough structure. These crystals rupture cell walls and break down starches. When the bread is thawed and baked, it can never fully recover its original texture and structure. To compensate, manufacturers add extra gluten, gums, and emulsifiers to hold everything together. These additives make the bread feel soft and fresh, but they're also harder to digest and can trigger sensitivities in people who normally tolerate wheat just fine. Another issue with Lidl bread is the salt content. Some of their white loaves contain over 1 gram of salt per 100 grams of bread. 4 slices give you nearly a third of your daily salt limit, and you haven't even had lunch or dinner yet. Excessive salt doesn't just raise blood pressure, it damages the lining of your blood vessel.
How are they allowed to put all these chemicals in our food, knowing that loads of people struggle with ailments that keep them at hospitals? They're obviously all just working together. It's all just one big production line to make sure that you are not very well and that you're eating plastic and chemicals. You think those regulatory bodies, how much do they get paid each year as a salary to lie to us and keep us in this state? And we're paying all this money for water and electric. We could have electric different. You even get it from the ground. That would be the most eco-friendly. Oh, it's absolutely mind-boggling what we are in. You think they can't wait to put Trump on the television and all that drama, when really, look what they're doing to you. Just look at it. It's disgusting.
forces your kidneys to work harder, and causes calcium to leach from your bones. Over the years, this contributes to osteoporosis, especially in women. Number 1. Aldi Village Bakery. And here we are, the worst offender, Aldi's Village Bakery range. I want to be clear, I'm not anti-Aldi. They've revolutionized UK grocery shopping by making food more affordable, but their bread is where they've cut corners too deeply. Village Bakery bread contains an ingredient called potassium bromate in some of its specialty loaves. This is a flour improver that's been banned in the EU, Canada, Brazil, and China because it's classified as a possible carcinogen, yet it still appears in some UK-produced bread through regulatory loopholes. When potassium bromate is heated during baking, most of it converts to potassium bromide, which is considered safer. Most, but not all, residual amounts remain in the finished bread. And while those amounts are tiny, the cumulative effect of eating this bread daily for years is unknown. Aldi's standard white loaves also contain the highest levels of salt I've found in any UK supermarket bread. A single slice can contain 0.4 grams of salt. If you're eating 6 slices a day, which isn't unusual for someone having toast for breakfast and sandwiches for lunch, that's 2.4 grams of salt just from bread. The NHS recommends no more than 6 grams of salt per day. Excess salt intake is directly linked to high blood pressure, stroke, and heart disease. It also makes you retain water, leading to bloating and that puffy feeling you can't quite explain. But the absolute worst thing about Aldi Village Bakery, the deceptive health claims. They have a superseded range that sounds incredibly healthy. It's covered in seeds. It looks nutritious. Then you check the ingredients and find that the base is still refined white flour with added gluten to make it chewier. The seeds are just sprinkled on top for appearance. You're paying extra for what looks like health food, but it's really just the same problematic bread with a seed disguise. Let me tell you what really happens with Aldi's production process. They use what's called a centralized manufacturing model. Bread is made in massive factories that produce hundreds of thousands of loaves per day. At that scale, quality control becomes nearly impossible. Flour comes from the cheapest suppliers, often blended from wheat sources across multiple countries. There's no traceability. You have no idea where your wheat was grown, how it was treated, or what pesticides were used. The dough is machine mixed at high speeds, which generates heat and breaks down gluten structure. It's then divided by weight using automated equipment, placed in tins and sent through industrial ovens that bake hundreds of loaves at once. This entire process, from flour to bagged loaf, takes under 3 hours. Traditional bread making takes 12 to 16 hours minimum. You simply cannot create nutritious, digestible bread in 3 hours. It's physically impossible. Aldi also uses something called calcium sulfate in their bread. This is essentially plaster of Paris, the same stuff used for wall repairs. In bread, it acts as a dough conditioner and provides calcium fortification. But calcium sulfate can interfere with iron absorption and cause digestive upset in sensitive individuals. Here's the thing that bothers me most about Aldi. They've built their brand on offering German quality at low prices. German bread is world-renowned. Real German bread is made with whole grains, sourdough cultures, and traditional methods. But Aldi's UK bread? It's not German quality. It's German efficiency applied to the cheapest possible ingredients. You're getting the speed and scale of German manufacturing without any of the quality standards that make German bread worth eating. Okay, I know that was heavy. You might be looking at your kitchen right now thinking, what am I supposed to eat? Don't worry, there are genuinely good options out there. Look for bread from small.
Thank you very much there to UK Store Insider. Very interesting video. I mean, I think I'm a bit frightened to go to the supermarket now. Well, I mean, it just boggles me that you find yourself in this position where we're going to the plastic supermarkets, buying the plastic food, and they're making masses of money out of you in the corporations that they are. Oh dear, we are just played with through the whole thing. Yeah. Thank you very much to UK Insider. Amazing video. I feel a bit depressed now, to be honest, thinking about bread. But an amazing insight into what's going into our food. Another horrible video, I'm afraid. Very good video. Thank you, UK Store Insider. But just horrible with all the things that they're... Emulsifiers, plastic, chemicals, bleach. Like, it just sounds like it's like a horror movie. Oh, it's just disgraceful. I find it absolutely disgraceful. Thanks for watching. Go over and sub to UK Store Insider. See what else he's got to talk about. Anyway, thank you very much for listening and watching this video.